I presume you're talking about the U.S. Coast Guard?
Yes.
Yes. So different agencies have different mandates, different jurisdictions, different objectives in investigations. And perhaps, Cliff, you can just explain how when there is a major marine occurrence involving multiple states, then there is a mechanism to collaborate and to share factual information amongst the various agencies to the extent permitted within our legislation. As I mentioned, there are certain things, certain data, for example, voice recordings, witness statements that are protected under Canadian legislation. But we conduct our interviews and our gathering of information independently of anyone else.
What's the status of the retrieval of the pieces of the Titan? Who's involved in that? Is that going on out at sea?
So we're not involved in that particular aspect. I think that question would best be directed to the U.S. Coast Guard, who was the lead agency in the search and rescue and now recovery mission.
How long do you think your investigation will take? And ultimately, do you expect to be able to answer the question of what caused this implosion?
Our investigations we take the time we need to do a thorough investigation, and we're in the early stages and we need to scope out the lines of inquiry. Typically our investigations can take 18 months to 2 years. We obviously try and do them quicker because we know everybody wants answers, particularly the family, the public, etc. But we need to take the time. With respect to how far we will go, that remains to be seen as we gather information. So it's still too early to tell. Sorry again.
From CNN. Thank you.
Yeah.
So earlier today, Horizon Maritime told us that 14 crew members returned on the Polar Prince. We're looking for some clarity on numbers. We were told that there were 24 people on board plus 17 crews. That would bring the total to 41. Can you tell us exactly how many people arrived back on the Polar Prince today and the breakdown of crew members and other people on the ship, please?
Yeah, sure. As you mentioned, yes, 41 individuals did leave the vessel when the vessel departed St. John's. As I mentioned earlier as well, five of those individuals are presumed they're missing and they're presumed deceased. When the vessel returned today, there were 17 crew members on board, and as you mentioned, other personnel on board as well, similar to what had left, minus those individuals.
Nobody's left yet.
Go ahead.
Nobody's left the vessel yet. As I said earlier, we've undertaken our interviews with the individuals on board, and once we're done with our interviews, then we're not detaining those individuals from actually leaving the vessel or leaving.
Do you receive full cooperation?
Yes, I would say that we've received full cooperation. It's been a really good interaction thus far, and it's really getting full cooperation with all the individuals involved to date. Yes.
So just so I'm clear,
Go ahead.
Just to follow up on her question, that total number, does that include family members who traveled out from here, or did those family members work today?
Maybe I would just caution that those are some of the things that we need to validate. So we have preliminary numbers, which Cliff has shared. We'll validate all that in terms of crew versus other occupants that were on the vessel. But what's clear is that there were 5 that were on the vessel that left here some time ago, and 5 did not return. Who did not return? That's clear. So I just don't want to give you a number today and then find out, oh well, we missed 1 or 2 or whatever. But just to clarify that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, John. I wondered if you could just provide clarity. I know there's different agencies that are participating in the investigation. Is there a specific agency that's taking the lead? Is it the U.S. Coast Guard? Is it you? Is it the American NTSB? And as a follow-up on that, usually when the NTSB is involved in an investigation, they issue a preliminary report. Do we expect to see anything like that here?
So in terms of what's happening today, we are conducting a safety investigation in Canada, given that this was a Canadian flag vessel that departed a Canadian port and was involved in this occurrence, albeit in international waters. Other agencies may choose to conduct investigations, and that's up to them, but there are provisions in the International Maritime Code for collaboration amongst agencies conducting parallel investigations in accordance with their mandate and their objectives. So So whatever other agencies will do, you'd have to defer to the U.S. Coast Guard to ask what their plans are with respect to that. I think you had a second follow-up, and I'm sorry I missed. Oh yeah, sorry, progress. Yeah, we're I can't guarantee when we'll have a more fulsome update, say in the coming days, but as we gather more information that we're able to release, we will share it. We will, I can't commit to when we might provide a progress, because again, we have a lot of information to collect, a lot of people to interview, and then we have to validate that information and analyze it. So it could be a while, but if we can give an update the next few days, we certainly will strive to do that. We understand the international interest in this occurrence.
Assuming the wreckage with the debris would be key to your investigation in determining how this happened, who will take carriage of that? There's been some talk about the expense of getting that to the surface. Will the effort be focused on getting as much of the Titan to the surface?
Well, again, I think you'd have to ask the U.S. Coast Guard. They are still engaged in terms of the recovery of the wreckage on the ocean bottom. So I can't go beyond that. I mean, as Mr. Harvey said, our investigation will go where the evidence leads us, and we'll certainly pay attention to what other investigation agencies may be doing. But I can't commit one way or the other. But I know there's efforts underway to collect the recovery.
Just to clarify, you said that you're investigating this vessel because it's a Canadian flagged ship. The submersible was not Canadian flagged, as I understand it. So you are investigating that vessel too?
Well, we're investigating a marine occurrence that happened in international waters involving a Canadian flagged vessel that departed from a Canadian port and that served as a support to that occurrence. So in the early stages of an investigation, we have to look at what we know and determine what will be the scope of our investigation. Are there other investigations going on? We don't want to duplicate efforts. We want to collaborate. At the end of the day, we all have a collective interest in finding out what happened and why. So I'll just stop there. Yes?
Would you like to tell us which family members were on board, as in from which
No. No, we would not release that information. We don't, and again, we would not identify the names of the individuals that we've investigated or that we've interviewed rather, because that's private information. No, there may be other ways of getting that information, but we're not going to reveal who's on board the vessel or in terms of other occupants and who we may have interviewed or not. Yeah. Again, bearing in mind the trauma, the difficult circumstances that families have been through, we made it a priority to engage with them earlier rather than later, but we may have follow-up interviews after the fact. We don't want to hold them on the vessel any longer than necessary. So, okay, I got 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll.
Follow up on
Yeah.
that point you were just making, and you mentioned this at the beginning. You mentioned the circumstances that are very difficult that everyone's gone through. Without getting into who people are and the privacy issues there, can you just give us a general sense of how people are doing, not just the people that were aboard this vessel, but also your team that now is tasked with trying to figure out what happened?
I mean, first and foremost, our hearts go out to the individuals who were on the vessel, particularly any family members who've lost loved ones. There's no doubt that, particularly, as you can imagine, given the media stories that we were following about what was happening and the possibility, the potential for survival, that's tough. Our investigators are trained, to conduct investigations that may involve trauma, death, etc. It can be hard on them, and we spend a lot of time at the TSB to provide mental health supports to our investigators and so on. So it's a challenging time, but we're at the early stages of this investigation. We want to get answers, and we look forward to providing it.
Do you provide mental health support on the crew members as well?
No, that is not the responsibility of the TSB, but our investigators are certainly trained in understanding that people who've been through a difficult experience, we need to deal with them carefully and compassionately, and so we're doing it. Okay, I got one more question, and then that's going to be it. Sorry, we got to get back to work.
Talk mostly about interviews. Is it fair to assume that anything that's pulled out of the ocean, taken back perhaps to Boston by the Coast Guard, that's stuff you'd like to see your investigators will look at?
As part of our investigation, yes, we will certainly be looking at any information that is made available to us, yeah, I mean, we'll be working with our international partners as well to share any factual information that we can in accordance with our national legislation, so similar to the other states' legislation as well.
Do you expect the interviews to go into the night or
Could you
into
spell your
tomorrow?
name, please?
Sorry, thank you very much. This is all for today, and again, we'll keep you posted if we can do another update in the coming days. But we appreciate your patience and your interest. Thank you.
So quickly, who pays for this? Is the Canadian government or the private company? I thought so, but I would also think that I've also read and suggesting that at some point the company pays for. Well, who's paying for the salvage part of it?
Well, that's not that.
That's
They're not doing salvage, so.
Right. Well, but.